What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Holy Perspective podcast. Whether you're listening in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it is that you're watching, thanks for tuning in, and thank you for being part of this project. My name is Kevin Roth. I am your host in this podcast, in this project. In a second, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, but I thought I'd start out by talking about this project, what this podcast is all about. The last thing I would want is for you to connect and start listening, expecting something, and then not get what you expect, right? I want to value and honor your time, because I think time is the most valuable gift that God has given us. So, number one, let's talk about what this podcast is all about, the mission statement, right? This podcast was created to invest in the spiritual growth and personal development of every listener, equipping you to overcome difficult struggles and to live a successful life, all while staying firm in your faith in a culture that opposes godliness. With every episode, our aim is to prepare you to cause an impact in your circle of influence and to continually get you closer to fulfilling the purpose God has created you for, right? So there you have it. This is a faith-based podcast, but it is an entrepreneur style, for lack of a better term, podcast in which I'm going to be giving practical tips, practical takeaways to help you navigate your faith, to help you navigate life struggles. In every episode, our goal is to interview guests with different backgrounds, with different expertise that can just help you to be more firm in your faith, help you to fulfill the purpose that you were created for, right? And whether you are a faith-based oriented person or not, I believe you will have a takeaway from every episode and that you can be blessed, because these are principles that apply to everyone. Nevertheless, I think it's important to give the disclaimer that the podcast is spoken from a faith-based perspective. That was a lot of faith in the last couple sentences, but that's important. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about me. My name is Kevin Roth. I am an Argentinian, or Argentine, however you want to say it, 28-year-old based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a heart for ministry, for communication, and for young adults. So a little bit about my background. From the age of 18 to about 25, 26, I worked for ministry in various roles. I have a strong background in production, in lighting and live streaming and working with cameras. I have a degree in information technology. But I will say that from all the things that I have done, I found a love for ministry while I was in church. I found a love for serving people, right? I love helping people become better versions of themselves. I love helping people overcome life's struggles. And if you could tell me, hey, what's one thing that you would love to do even if you weren't paid to do it, I would choose this, right? Communicating, talking to people, discipling. I meet with friends on a weekly basis and we do life together, right? Kind of like the Acts chapter 2 church, if you're familiar with that passage. And so I found my passion and love to communicate, to teach, to disciple several years ago. And what better means to do it than through podcasting, right? Through the media that we so excessively use nowadays. Why not use it for good, right? I always told myself, I've been off Instagram and Facebook and all that for about 2 years. I've been on and off, but I used to be on it every day, and you guys listening know what I'm talking about. Just a cycle of Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and it's just a repetitive cycle in which I found myself comparing myself to others, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and thinking, man, I wish my life was better than it is right now. And ultimately, a lot of social media, or I would say almost all of social media, revolves around, hey, look at me, right? Look at what I'm doing. Give me your approval. Give me your likes. And I told myself, if I was ever going to do social media again, it would not be with that intent. It would be with the intent to bring value, right, to others, to honor God, but to put out content that will help and impact lives, right? I don't want to waste my time. And so that's what we're doing here. And so without further ado, we're going to talk about pretty much the mission statement of the podcast, which is to invest in the spiritual growth and personal development of every listener, right? That's the first part of the mission statement. So the first 3 episodes of this podcast will be pretty much breaking down the podcast's mission, right? They are going to be the foundational pillars. And from there on, we will have different guests. And so I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. So we're going to be talking about personal development, balance, spiritual growth, and all that jazz. So let's jump right into it. I think it's fair to say that as young people, we have a lot of pressure and a lot of struggles that I would say a lot of times go unforeseen, right? We are supposed to know what to do with our lives, what degree to study if you're studying, who to marry, what careers to choose, what our purpose is in life, where to live, if we should stay at our parents' house, if we should move out, when we should get together with our friends, if we should focus on ourselves, focus on others, etc., etc. We are in our 20s, right? Maybe you're 18, straight out of high school. Maybe you're in your early 30s, who knows? But in our early years, we are supposed to have the answers, or expected to have the answers to these big questions, right? And one big thing nowadays is this concept of self-help, right? Personal development, continually becoming better versions of ourselves. And I want to preface this by saying that I hate the term self-help. And the reason is that there's no such thing as self-help, right? Every textbook we read, every theory we read, every video we watch, whatever content we consume that is supposed to help us has been created by somebody else, right? So it's a little selfish to call it self-help. It's almost like I discovered this, mind-breaking fact, or I had an epiphany that no one else has, and here I am, I'm helping myself because I'm so good. Now, ultimately, our intelligence, our wisdom, I believe stems from God. So I say all that to say we can't do this on our own, right? We need God and we need other people. He is our maker, right? If you want to know more about a car, right? Let's say you have a Ford, whatever Ford car, Ford Focus, I don't know. You're not going to go to a Chevrolet dealer, to learn more about the car, right? You're going to go to a Ford dealer. You're going to read the Ford instruction manual. In the same way, I believe if we have a maker, if God is our maker, we should come to him, right? Because he has the answers. He is the instruction manual to our lives, right? So what better way to learn more about ourselves and how to get better at life than to read the scriptures, the Bible, the instruction manual he's given us, than to spend time with our maker, right? And he's so good that he gives us the opportunity to get to know him with ease, right? We have church. We can watch church online even nowadays. There's plethora of articles and scriptures written out there, different translations of the Bible, right? New International Version, New Living Translation. And I will say that a lot of modern theory of meditation and self-improvement and psychology, critical thinking, a lot of these concepts are actually taken from scripture, right? You will find lots of parables, about sowing and reaping, about doing good unto others, about investing, whatever it may be, in scripture. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that the Bible is timeless, and it is beneficial even to this day. But nowadays, there's an overemphasis on self-help books, courses, tactics, and not to say that these things are bad, right? These are good, and I would encourage everyone to continually strive to get better. But I want to say that all these ideologies were created by someone else. So if they're created by someone else, the point I'm trying to make is we need people, right? We need others. Right? There's no way we can improve ourselves and neglect other people. We can't live in a bubble, right? We work for someone else. Someone pays our salary. We learn from someone else. Someone mentors us. We go to school. We have parents, etc. And so the first tip I want to give you all in regards to self-improvement is the quality of your relationships will be the quality of your life. I want to say that one more time. The quality of your relationships will equal the quality of your life. And the reason why I say that is that relationships bleed into every area of your life. You have relationships at work, at school, in your home. You have friends. You have people that you look up to, people that you follow on Instagram, on social media. So point being is, don't burn bridges, right? You should make every effort to live in peace with others, to forgive, to reconcile, but to keep good, healthy relationships, right? Why is that? Again, we need other people. We can't do life on our own. So that's number one. But the question might be, how is it that we can have good relationships? How is it that we can stay connected to others? And the number one way that we can do that, I'll say, is to serve, right? To serve others. If there's one big tip that I've heard from people who have made it, from the entrepreneurs, from millionaires, businessmen, is that they all serve someone of importance, right? That they come, when they approach relationships in life, they come ready to give, not ready to ask, right? We're so eager sometimes to ask. It's like, hey, what do you recommend? What books should I read? Hey, can you hire me? Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? When in reality, whenever we come asking from somebody, I don't know about you, but I tend to push those people off because I've got enough things in my routine, in my schedule that I have to do. So the last thing I want to do is add more to my plate. However, if they come offering to serve me, whether that may be a plate of food, whether that may be quality time, whether that may be whatever, we respond to service better. And so that's number one. The only way to make a difference is to make an investment, right, in ourselves. And that may sound a little selfish, but the truth is that when we invest in coaching or in mentoring, meaning that we have a mentor or a master class, whenever we take them out to eat, whenever we honor their work, whenever we offer our volunteer service to them, we invest in them. We invest in people, and As a consequence, we're investing in ourselves, right? Because whenever we shadow someone that's important, whenever we shadow someone that has success in the field that we want to have success in, we are investing in ourselves because we're learning from them, right? We're absorbing all the knowledge that they have. And so I want to give a quick example of how I did this in my life. So for a long time, I shadowed pastors, right? I would go with pastors, to missionary trips. Whenever they would go preach at other churches, I would be in the behind the scenes when my pastor would work on his preachings, right? Whenever he went live in the live streams, the weekly live streams that we had, I would be with him and I would see all that went into the preparation. And by spending so much time with my pastor and other pastors, and by serving him, I eventually developed a keen ear for how to communicate, different tones of voice, how to speak clearly, how to validate a teaching, right? The delivery and all the different aspects of teaching. I didn't necessarily go to school for communications, but by serving or shadowing someone that was within that field, I learned how to do it, and I got many opportunities to speak to young people throughout my life. And so I say that to say, find someone that you can shadow that has success in the field that you want to be successful in, and serve them. Anything you can do, even if you have to work and intern for free, right? And if you're young, fresh out of school, or still living with your parents, take advantage of that time so that you can be successful and so that you can develop yourself, right? We're talking about personal development. Okay, so tip number one is the quality of your relationships will be the quality of your life. And by quality, I mean being at peace with others, forgiveness, reconciliation, and to add on to that, serve others, right? Find someone that you can serve, and then that ultimately will reflect in the quality of life that you are living. Tip number 2, and this is a very big one for me, is set priorities, right? Prioritize, okay? How are you using your time? Take a step back and just think about that for a second, right? What does your day-to-day look like? Do you even have a routine? What is important to you? What goals are you striving to accomplish? Where are you headed to? What direction in life are you headed to? And if you're like, whoa, Kevin, that's way too many questions for me, I have no idea, I don't have a single answer, then that's okay. Even if you don't necessarily know where you're headed in life, you can still prioritize in a way that will help clear your mind and kind of bring a sense of direction as to where you should be heading. And so when we talk about prioritizing, a very practical thing that you can do is take out a sheet of paper, right? Or pull out your notebook, your Google Keep, whatever note-taking app you use, and just start listing things that are important to you, right? If I was to list some of those things from the top of my head, I would say family, prayer time, exercising, right? Spending time in community, audio and video, right? It's something I'm passionate about, marketing. Just start listing things, right? Then define some of your goals, right? What are you trying to accomplish? Maybe you're trying to earn $50,000 by the end of the year. Maybe you're trying to lose 50 pounds of weight. Maybe you're trying to reconnect with an old friend. Whatever that may be, list out some goals. And then every day, schedule a task related to that goal, right? And prioritizing can also be linked back to creating a routine, right? Creating a schedule that works for you, right? And the Bible has wisdom on this. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, people perish." Habakkuk, one of the Old Testament prophet books, states in chapter 2, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it, right? So it's very practical advice. If you want to run in life, if you want to get going, maybe you have ambitious roles or ambitious goals, but you have no vision, then you can't run because you don't know where you're headed, right? And if you ask anyone, everyone wants to make good money. Everyone wants a great family, right? A great marriage, a great house, whatever it may be. But it all starts with a vision. It all starts with goals, with looking into your heart and really defining what is important for you, right? So I would say, big tip is prioritize your day around the things that directly connect with your calling, that directly connect with your purpose, right? For me, what that looks like, right? Because I'm a communicator. I'm deeply involved in ministry. I'm a person of faith. Number one, every day I spend time with God, right? Because missions are connected to the mission giver. If I believe he's given me my purpose, then what better way to get clarity on that purpose than to go talk to him, right? He's the one that gave me the task. The second thing that's important to me is pouring into friends, pouring into others, serving others, right? Making and scheduling time weekly to meet with friends, to counsel them, to spend quality time with them, right? That's important to me. And the third thing I would say is speaking opportunities, right? Whether that's a podcast or just time meeting with friends, like I said, or devotionals, or making Instagram reels, whatever it may be, communicating is important to me. So if I'm not making time for these things, there's no way that I'm going to be sharpening my skills, developing myself, right? We're talking about personal development. There's no way I'm going to grow spiritually, spiritual growth, unless I'm spending time with God in prayer and with others that are like-minded. So make a list of priorities. Again, think about what's important to you. I have 6 that I've written down, and you can go based off of these. You can add, take away. But number 1, God, Jesus, spending time with him. Number 2, family, right? Community. This includes my future spouse. I don't have that significant other yet, but when that person comes into my life, they would take the number 2 spot, right? I would have to make intentional time to go on dates, to spend time with her. Relationships take time, right? So I would have to spend time with her every day. Number 3, third priority, my future, my career, right? Right now, I'm not making a salary off of this, right? So for the time being, my career, my job takes a priority because it takes up 8 hours a day, roughly, right? Most of you who work know the average workday is 8 hours. So by prioritizing that time, I'm pretty much saying, hey, when I work hard, right? I am excellent, and excellence makes way for promotion. Number 4, fitness. I'm passionate about fitness. I'm passionate about staying healthy. I have goals, fitness goals that I want to reach. Fitness is a priority. Number 5, big one for me, balance and rest. Resting, having balance in life. Never allowing one specific area or one specific person to consume my life, but having balance. My time evenly distributed as much as I can. And number 6, entertainment and leisure. It's very easy, especially if you're entrepreneur minded like me, if you're an ambitious, visionary type individual. It's very easy to just get caught up in the to-dos, right? I gotta meet these deadlines. I gotta accomplish these goals. But we have to take a step back and spend some time for ourselves. Entertainment, right? Watch a movie, read a book, go on a walk, whatever it is that refreshes your soul, that re-energizes you. Make some time for that. These are my 6 priorities. And every day I have what are called non-negotiables, right? Non-negotiables are tasks that we must fulfill every single day, right? A non-negotiable means that there's no way around it. You have to get it done. And every day I have 2 of those tasks, right? The simpler, the better. Prayer, spending time with God, and 2, working out. Those are my non-negotiables. So what do? Every day I schedule time for prayer. I schedule time for working out, right? And I say every day, even though I technically work out 5 times a week, right? But if I schedule a time, it means that I know I'm not going to do anything else besides that during that time. And guess what? When we have it scheduled, we're more motivated to get it done. We have a reason for getting up in the morning, right? I'm a morning person. I like to wake up at 5, get my day started early. It makes me feel good. That sense of accomplishment of like, man, other people are sleeping at this time. Here I am grinding. Here I am praying. Here I am like working out, whatever it may be. It's a sense of accomplishment. And trust me, it makes a difference. So what are your non-negotiables? What are those things that you must do every day that link back to your priorities, right? Maybe that is spending time with your daughters if you have any. Maybe that's spending time on your online business every single day. Maybe that's just having some time to meditate. Whatever it looks like for you, schedule it in, right? Non-negotiables. And I guarantee you, when you fulfill these tasks, when you get these things done, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel energized, and it's going to help you get through your day. Okay. So we're talking about personal development, but before I go on, I do want to talk about supporting this podcast and this project. If you'd like to support this podcast, if it's helped you, if it's blessed you, please consider giving through Cash App, right? You could give through Cash App via Holy Perspective, right? $ Holy Perspective for those of you who have Cash App. Or you can visit our website, holyperspectivepodcast.com/donate. That's holyperspectivepodcast.com/donate. And like I said, this is a ministry, right? And so I have no sponsors. I'm not getting paid to do this. I genuinely want to bless others. I want to bless you guys by bringing quality content. So if you could consider supporting us financially, it would definitely help. But even if you can't, you're more than welcome to follow us on Instagram at Holy Perspective Podcast, on TikTok at Holy Perspective, and you can interact with us and give us ideas, questions about the podcast, ideas for future episodes, topics, whatever you may want us to talk about. That is the place to do it, preferably Instagram. Again, that's Instagram at Holy Perspective Podcast. And if you want to donate, that's holyperspectivepodcast.com/donate. All right, so moving on, we're talking about the mission of the podcast. Again, it is to invest in the personal development and spiritual growth of every listener. That is you guys. And what better way, we're going to move on to tip number 3. What better way to invest in your personal development and spiritual growth than to bring balance, right? We're going to talk about balance. This is a big one in today's culture, right? Because we live in a hyperactive, busy culture. It's all about work. It's all about grinding out, making more money, making moves, connections. The grind doesn't stop. I get off work, I get home, I start grinding on social media, yada, yada, yada. And let me tell you the danger of that. It is called burnout, right? There's another danger that comes along with it, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Burnout is simply when we've given all that we have to give and we run out of energy, right? We're going through the motions day to day. We feel lifeless. We're doing things mechanically, like a robot. Our joy is stripped from our heart. And yes, we may be making good money. Yes, we may have a decent job, a decent living, but we're not enjoying life, right? Because we're burned out. And in fact, maybe some of you feel this way right now. You're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you've been striving and fighting for a better future, but you feel like even though things seemingly are going your way, you're not at peace, you're not enjoying it, that is a sign of burnout. That is a sign of overwhelm, right? And many people make the mistake of investing too much energy to one thing and they burn out, right? They sacrifice their time with family, they sacrifice their time with God, they sacrifice their time with other loved ones, with their community, they sacrifice working out, they sacrifice time for themselves, for leisure, right? And all these things are important in order to bring balance into your life, right? God said in his word that on the seventh day he rested. There's a commandment for those of you who know the 10 commandments. One of the commandments is to keep the Sabbath day holy, right? That word Sabbath means day of rest, a day without working. So I want to ask you, listener, do you have a 24-hour period in which you don't work, in which you just enjoy your family, your kids, you go out to nature, you read, you disconnect from technology? Do you have that time? Because if you don't, you're missing out, right, on the fullness of life. And I have to tell you, I started practicing Sabbath a couple months back, and it radically changed my mood. It radically changed my life. And so part of bringing balance is separating time for rest, separating time for those things that, again, as I said earlier, replenish your soul, re-energize you. And something that is very useful that many men do who have had success in this field of routines and time management and balance is that they have certain rules of life, right, that they abide by, certain principles that are unwavering and that they live by. And so because they have these boundaries in life, they don't burn out, right? Because these boundaries keep them in check. So some rules of life for me, for example, and I would recommend that you make rules for the different areas in your life: relationships, work, finances, rest, etc. These are my rules, okay? And I'm giving you some as an example. You can take them, you can use some of them, you can make your own, but the principle is bring balance into your life. And one of the ways to bring balance besides rest is to make rules, right, that you abide by, that you live by. Maybe you're like, Kevin, that's too structured, that's crazy for me. I kind of go with the flow. You know, I have friends that live like that, and I will say, give this a chance. Making a routine, making rules is a game changer. So number one, for prayer in my life, I have at least one prayer walk a week. I read the scriptures daily. I pray first thing in the morning. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. It gets me going. It re-energizes. It connects me with God. And I have margin, right? Something called margin. Just like in a Word document, you have margin on the sides, just this blank space. Make time for margin in which you just stop. You don't think, you don't work, you rest. You let your emotions speak to you. You let the Spirit speak to you, right? Be silent. And a lot of times you can figure out some good things about yourself when you're just listening. Number two, in regards to rest, I have one rest day in a week in which I just spend time with God, and again, I rest. I go to parks where there's nature, rivers. Maybe you live close to a beach. That would be useful to you. I get off social media. I get off technology. I limit work, right? I don't work. In regards to rest, I sleep a minimum of 7 hours a night. Now, this is up for debate. Some people say you need 8 hours. Some people say they can do well with 6 hours or less. I find that hard to believe, but you know your sweet spot. You need to get enough sleep. And here's the key. Go to bed at the same time every single night. Stop staying up until 12, 1, 2 in the morning. That is messing you up. If you get a good night's sleep, it's great for muscle recovery. It's good for energy. And it creates a routine. We are creatures of habit, right? Our bodies adapt to cycles. So if we're constantly changing our sleep schedule, that's going to mess you up, right? Thank God I'm at a point where I can go to bed at 10, wake up at 5 pretty easily. It took me a couple weeks to get there, but I'm there. In regards to relationships, I have one-on-one lunches with friends once a month. I meet regularly with a spiritual mentor 1 to 2 times a month for accountability. I participate in small groups, etc. and etc. So I would recommend, again, go back to your priorities, to the things that are important to you, and start making some rules based off of those priorities that apply to your life. And that, again, the whole goal is to bring balance and to replenish your spirit, right? So that brings me to the final point. The mission of this podcast is to help the listeners grow in their personal development and grow spiritually. How can we grow spiritually? Well, number one, whether you consider yourself to be a spiritual person or not, we are all spiritual beings in the sense that we have a soul, we have emotions, we have a longing to belong. Longing to belong, that's funny. We have a longing to make a difference, to accomplish something in life, and those are all spiritual aspects. So number one, I would say spiritual conversations with friends, those in-depth conversations about life, purpose, meaning, God, those help. Number two, prayer walks. I love going on prayer walks. I just get up, start talking to the Father, right? Letting him know what's on my mind, letting him know what stresses me, asking him, giving him thanks too. It's not all about what we can get, but being grateful, bringing glory to his name. Number three, reading scriptures, right? Daily. I recommend, if you're just starting out, maybe you haven't read the scriptures, you haven't read the Bible, read the Psalms, read Proverbs, and then read a chapter from Psalms or Proverbs and read a chapter from the Gospels every single day. And that's going to replenish your spirit. If I had to recommend, start in Psalms and start in the Gospel of Matthew. And I'm sure that would benefit you tremendously, right? There's a practice called the daily offices. I used to do this. I don't do it anymore because I kind of got into the routine of praying myself. But the daily offices, there are apps that you can download on your phone if you search up daily offices. And it's basically interruptions, notifications that you get on your phone that tell you, hey, it's time for prayer. And it will give you something to pray for. It will give you a guided word-for-word prayer. It will give you scripture to read. And it's a great practice to start developing that prayer life, right? Another thing that I do is just time in worship, right? And prayer. Being alone in one's room to just worship God, to listen to worship music, whatever that may be. Maybe you like Bethel music, Elevation worship, Maverick City. Maybe you don't consider yourself a spiritual person. You're like, what are you talking about? Spend some time alone in your room and just talk to God, and it'll make all the difference, right? And so I'm going to leave it at that in regards to the rules that we have and the different things that we can do. So as a quick summary, what did we talk about today? Number one, the quality of your relationships are the quality of your life. Make sure you keep in peace with others. Don't burn bridges, reconcile. Number two, prioritize. Think about what's important for you. And every day, schedule in some time to get you closer to fulfilling those goals. Number three, balance. It's not all about work. Make some time for rest. Make some time for leisure. And make some rules of life for yourself that you can abide by, that will bring guidance and help you in your day-to-day. And number four, how can we grow spiritually? Prayer, reading the word, daily offices, spiritual conversations. Lots of tips today, lots of takeaways. Let me know if you're on Instagram. What was your favorite takeaway from today? And so we're going to close off next week. We're going to talk about success. Very important. When does Holy Perspective Podcast release? Every Tuesday, every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcasting platforms, or you can watch us on YouTube. Just search up Holy Perspective Podcast. Anyway, without further ado, I'm your host, Kevin Roth, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. God bless you and have an awesome day. Hope this episode blessed you. And if it did, follow us on Instagram. Give us a shout out. All right. Love you guys. Take care. Let's go.